Good morning, everybody. Namaste, Swadikap. I was informed that there will be a GENOA community call on the 21st of September. And since I'm not going to be there for the meeting, Kin actually asked me to share my thoughts on Ecovillage in transition, Bhutan experience. Hello, I am Lhundup Dukpa from Bhutan Ecovillage Community Network and Bhutan Soul Farmers. So I would like to share some of my thoughts on the Ecovillage in transition. So first, let me share what Ecovillage means to me. Ecovillage is a community of people who believes that we have only one world and we share it with all living beings. That's a belief. And Ecovillage is a community of people who leads a lifestyle which is in peace and harmony with the nature, and one who engages in sustainable economic activities guided by the principles of right livelihood. And lastly, it's a community of people who serves one's community with utmost sincerity, care, and honesty. So in brief, an eco-village is a community of people who believes in sharing the world with all living beings, engages in sustainable economic activities, willingly serves one's community with utmost care and honesty, and lives in harmony with the nature. So this to me is an eco-village. And why is Ecovillage a way of community living so important today in the 21st century world? So here I would like to echo what my king said about living in a community. And one of his speeches to the people of Bhutan, His Majesty the King said, "No nation today can stand alone. There can be no lasting individual success without success as a community. And there cannot be lasting national progress and success if it does not fit into a future of global peace, harmony, and equality. The world must progress together or fail together," I unquote. This is wise wisdom from His Majesty the King of Bhutan. So this actually spells out clearly why living in a community with a shared sense of purpose is very important today in the 21st century world. And there were a couple of questions posed to me by Kin. And one of the questions was, what have you been doing in your country under Ecovillage transition? I have been talking about the education system. Since I work in the education system, I have been working on a concept called place-based education approach. So the Ministry of Education in Bhutan has actually accepted this particular approach to education, which is very much in line with the gross national happiness and the eco-village design education concept. So place-based education approaches actually follows four pillars, which are also the pillars of gross national happiness. So through the place-based education, children learn about economy, about the local economy, about global economy, what would be the safest way to generate income or to live a sustainable life. So under the economy, our children are introduced to many of the activities that are environment friendly and that brings less harm to the natural world. So through the place-based education, this is something that we do, and through this approach, children learn a lot about their local culture and local wisdom, not about local culture and wisdom, but they do also discuss a lot about the global culture. And they also learn about ecology, what their roles are in terms of preserving and promoting the ecology. Children are exposed to many of the natural world, the things that are there in the natural world. And lastly, children also discuss a lot about the good governance, because governance at the end plays the most important role in terms of providing policy directions and issuing rules and regulations, promoting a safe living environment for the people. So this is an education approach that has been implemented in all the primary schools in the country, and my role has been to train the teachers and the school principals so that they can understand the strategies that are there under the place-based education approach. I'm sure you are all aware of this teaching strategies such as the project-based method, problem-based learning, inquiry-based learning, and service learning. These are some of the approaches that are being shared with all our teachers teaching at the primary schools. So the biggest role has actually been in helping the teachers in schools to implement and teach the curriculum through place-based education approach. This is something that I have been doing for the past now 7 to 8 years now. And if you want to know more about Ecovillage, about the place-based education approach, there are about 10 principles in place-based education approach. One important principle is the use of community as classroom, meaning in the place-based education approach, the entire community, the village, becomes a classroom where children are taken through the culture of the place, the ecology of the place, the economy of the place. So they learn mathematics, sciences, languages through exposure to the community. So this is just one principle, and there are 9 other principles that are very, very important and are aligned with the Ecovillage design education. And the next question that was asked was how do you utilize local traditional wisdom? As I presented earlier, one of the important pillars of cross-national happiness, as well as the place-based education approach, is the culture. That's the preservation, promotion of local culture and wisdom. So you will notice that most of the things that we do in Bhutan are actually get the inspiration and the direction from the cultural aspects. For example, if you look at the architectural design of the buildings, you will see the largest buildings where the government offices are established. And if you look at the architecture there, the design there, you will notice that these, although the buildings are very big, you will notice the similar features and similar architecture in these houses built in the villages by the people. So this is one simple example, and you will notice that all the equipment and the materials used in these constructions actually come from the local forest. These are all from the locally available materials. We use the soil, we use the timber for the construction, the stones that are there around there. Only now in the bigger cities that people have started using cement and other the materials like iron bar and things like that. Traditionally, actually, in the villages, all the people actually use locally available materials to construct. So this is one important example to show that how culture influences the way people live. And the next question actually is about how to adapt eco-village development to local contexts. And this is a very, very important question actually. How do you contextualize, or how do you translate the eco-village concept into the actual practice? So since the establishment of the Bhutan salt farmers, we have been studying and exploring the concept of sufficiency economy. Sufficiency economy is a philosophy of late King Bhumibol of Thailand, and in this the economic development strategies, actually it's building the local economy. There is a model called GENOA, which is actually very simple model, but very, very relevant and very important model if people follow this. And at the Bhutan Salt Farmers, we have been learning about this one and trying to address the local food issues and food safety issues through this strategy. And the next question is about the challenges in implementing the process and how do we actually overcome these challenges. So when you look at the challenges can be looked at two ways, one at the local level and the other one at the global level. So let me start from the bottom up. So one of the challenges that we have in Bhutan, as well as I think in many of the countries, is about leadership and communication. And I think at the local level, we expect the local leaders, the local political leaders to take more proactive actions and provide more leadership roles in terms of developing, whether it be the developing economy, or developing the farming community, or helping people to find jobs or find a market. We actually expect our local leaders to take more proactive role. So this is actually one of the biggest challenges at the local level. Another challenge that we have is actually the coordination and teamwork. Coordination and teamwork between the government organized activities and the local NGO, non-government organizations. So I think like anywhere in Bhutan and anywhere in the world, I think we do have the challenge of coordination and teamwork. Sometimes we tend to do the same things over and over again with duplications and without much direction or streamlined directions. So this is another challenge that we have at the local level. And then another big challenge is about the bureaucratic procedures. So when the social enterprises or entrepreneurs want to seek either financial or technical support from the government agencies or from other agencies, there are a lot of formal procedures to be followed, and by the time it's time to implement the projects, actually the support comes very late, and often the social entrepreneurs are not able to implement the projects on time. And another area is the motivation and inspiration. I think today our youth are looking for more motivation and inspirations. It is not very much forthcoming from the leaders, from the elders around. I think today we need to work harder on motivating and inspiring our young generations, and this has also been a big challenge. And of course, definitely the financial support is not very much forthcoming. Even if it is there, there are a lot of procedures and rules and regulations that people have to follow, which for people at the grassroots level mostly are illiterate. They are illiterate, and they are not familiar with a lot of procedures when they have to apply for funding support and things like that. And this is another challenge. And of course, once those who are engaged in the farming activities do have a lot of challenges related to marketing the products. And for Bhutan, it's a big challenge, because we have a very small population, and then we just don't have the market to market the products at the local level. So unless the local products are exported, which needs a lot of support from the government and from other organizations, otherwise without those support, people at the local level will not be able to do this on their own. So these are some of the local challenges. And at the global level, I see a lot of challenges at the global level. I think at the global level, we are everything is actually driven by the marketing system, what we call the capitalist economy. If you look at the example of the farming, you will see there is a lot of support for monoculture of farming, because the culture of farming or agriculture is driven by profits and making money, and for that people are willing to do anything. And that is why chemical farming is booming, and not many countries are able to stop chemical farming, although this is very harmful to not only to the human beings alone, but very harmful to all the living beings. It is poisoning our water, it is poisoning the air, poisoning the soil, and it is making it will and it is already making the life very difficult for everybody. And the capitalist economy is also widening the gap between the rich and the poor. The rich become richer, and the poor continues to remain poor. And as a result, it has negative impact on the climate. The climate change is worsening. Even in Bhutan, our farming communities are struggling against change in the climate. Abrupt change in the climate is actually destroying the crops and the farms there. And there's also total dependence on the pharmaceutical industries for their health, which we all know that it is not very healthy. And most alarmingly, there is a culture of consumerism among youths. Today's youths are all out for fashion, and they look for cheaper goods, they look for fashionable items, and are not very much aware of the consequences of this kind of lifestyle. So this is very alarming actually. And then we do have the media. Media is good for many reasons, but I think too much of media is not very good. I think today's world is a media saturated world, that people instead of working or engaging in healthy activities are all out on the mobiles all the time, and not realizing that they are wasting their time actually. And this will ultimately lead to political unrest in the society if we do not address these issues. This will ultimately end up in political unrest. And as a result of this economy, there is the impact, the negative impact on the natural biodiversity. I think every day we are losing thousands of natural species. So if you look at the eco-villages in around the world, you will see there are the people who live by the principles of eco-village design, their way of life. There are very few, and it's just 1/3 of the world. So we also need to address these challenges at the global level. And the last one is about how did you fund your activity, what can GENOA do to support this in the region. In terms of funding, it's mostly self-funding. We do not have much funding from any other sources, neither from the government nor from the international level. At the national level, if you have to seek support from the government, as I mentioned, there are a lot of procedures to follow, and it is not very easy to get it. So there are definitely many things that GENOA can do, which I would like to share here very briefly. I think GENOA is already doing something on the advocacy. The first one is the advocacy. This advocacy, I think GENOA is doing this, but I think it's not enough. It's not enough. The advocacy at the international level, at the government level, at the local level, because advocacy will bring in more youths into this way of life. And GENOA can also support the local initiatives, providing some sort of technical and funding, financial support at the local level. And one of the things that GENOA can also do is about fundraising. You can, I know GENOA is doing in this area. I think somehow we have to now re-strategize in terms of fundraising. The international funds or international organizations and the governments must commit some fund in this area, because GENOA is working for the world. It's not for a small group of people. And of course, education and training. The education training must go on. This should happen at the local level, at the international level. I think this is another area where GENOA can support. And one of the things that GENOA can also do is engage in the research activities now. I don't think there is any at the moment. I think it's time that what we claim we must show at the grassroots level as well as at the international level. We must get into research and prove to the world that with research evidences that what we do is actually impacting the world in a positive way. So unless we have some research-backed findings, we will not be able to convince the international community or even at the local community. And the last thing is about the global, the local initiatives. There are a lot of initiatives at the local level which are often not visible. You see, not visible, and they are not able to advocate what they do to the world. So I think GENOA must make an effort to get to the grassroots level to understand what people at the grassroots level are doing. There are a lot of good things that are happening actually at the grassroots level, which must be recorded and must be shared with everybody. So there are a couple of things here that GENOA can actually help its members and those people who are interested in doing it. So this is all I have to share with you. I would like to thank everybody, and I would like to apologize my absence for this important community call. and I wish to participate in the future community forum. So I wish you all the best of luck, and thank you for your patience in listening to what I have to say. Thank you very much.